Do you sometimes wish that you were somebody else? That you possessed the same kinds of characteristics or strengths, personality traits of another person, whether that's one specific person or maybe just people in general? Do you tend to negate things about yourself, thinking that they're not really that important or significant or meaningful? I think probably many of you can relate to that. I know I can. And today I want to share a story with you, a little bit about that, and the importance of being able to really lean into honoring ourselves. Welcome. I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thank you for joining me. Several years ago, when I took my work online, I didn't know what I was doing. I had been working in private practice, and that's a very specific type of thing. When I started working online, I really wasn't sure what the work was actually going to be. I didn't think that I could continue to work with survivors, helping them heal. So I was just really trying to figure things out. I didn't really know anything about the online world. This was in 2014, so a lot has changed, particularly since COVID, but this was long before COVID. So I ended up kind of looking for business coaching, and I found somebody who led a 9-month mastermind. And it was for women, and it was for women that were kind of interested in a particular kind of thing. It was really about community, and I really felt like I was longing for that. And so I joined this mastermind, and I think that there were maybe 16 of us who joined that cohort. And I didn't know anything about the other people that would be there. She talked about the kind of women that she wanted to bring in, but really didn't know anything about what any of them would be. And once we all kind of connected, I recognized a couple of things that were a little surprising to me, and things that I didn't necessarily feel a lot of vulnerability around, but was kind of there in the background. And the first was that I was the oldest person in that group of women. I think I was probably about maybe 4 or 5 years older than the next person. And then the next person to her, I think was a few years younger than her at least. So I was the oldest person, and that was a new experience for me. We're all women who have our own businesses. And being the oldest when you're actually kind of getting older is a weird experience. I also recognized immediately that almost everybody, with the exception of maybe a couple of people, were all coaches. So life coaching, business coaching were predominantly the kind of coaching. And some had been in business for a little while, some were brand new, some were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. So I'm the oldest person. I'm in a group of coaches, and I was not. And also recognized that by far the majority of the people there were also what is often referred to lovingly as woo or woo-woo. I was not at all. And so I was open. It was interesting. I was very curious, really. So some different pieces there. Like I talk about vulnerability a lot, right? So growing older is vulnerable, especially when you're surrounded by a bunch of other women who are much younger than you. Kind of being a little bit on the outside in a sense in terms of professional experience and current role. So that was a little different. And then the more just different way of thinking about things. So spirituality and like woo was the big thing. And so that was kind of my experience going in and learning about all these women, and really it was a lot of amazing women. So one of the things that would happen I think even on some coaching calls that we had, but certainly when we were together in retreat, we had 2 retreats in person. So a lot of what was happening was like people would pull like tarot cards, and not specifically tarot cards, but the idea of that. And I've done that myself as well. Since then, they kind of taught me about that. But inevitably what would happen is like people would have cards pulled for them, and they would get like the mystic and the lover and the queen and the huntress. And like I had been a mom from barely 17 years old. I had my second child when I was barely 18 years old. Before that, I was my mom's primary caretaker. I was definitely a parentified child, and there was no man really around. I had a stepfather, but he wasn't around except for at night. So my life was spent caretaking, and I loved my mother. It was an unhealthy, enmeshed relationship, but I did love her, and I believe ultimately that she did love me. And certainly I love my children, and I would never want to change any of that. And I loved my husband. I still do love my husband. But I've been a caretaker my entire life. And I really wanted, especially with this new focus, like moving away from being in private practice, kind of having the online world at my fingertips, like I was ready to step into the huntress or the mystic or something exciting. But inevitably, every time a card was pulled for me, it was the mother card. And every time I was like, what? Like almost feeling deflated, like literally feeling this deflation that would happen, like, no, that's not who I want to be. And at this time, my children were grown as well. So they were already out of the house. But literally, like mother, always, whether I was pulling a card, whether somebody else was pulling a card, when people would talk about me and reference me in regards to like the mother archetype. So all of these are archetypes that I'm talking about. So I continuously was the mother archetype. And like I said, I would feel deflated. I was disappointed, frustrated. In a sense, it like reinforced my fears and beliefs about like not really being meant for more. Like I wanted to write a book. I wanted to speak. I was thinking about doing all these things, but it kept coming back to mother. And I was just like, well, this sucks. Now I want to be clear. It doesn't mean that I didn't love what I was doing. It was just from a personal place, wanting to, like, seeing all these other women, and like, it's not that they were really stable in their careers. A lot of them have moved on and done different kinds of things, even in terms of coaching and stuff like that. It was just this feeling of needing somebody kind of to affirm that I'm ready for this new phase of life. And so when mother kept coming up, it did feel that way. And there's also honestly a part of me that felt like, but that's not true, because I was a horrible mother. So clearly this is wrong, because I wasn't a very good mom to my kids. And so lots of conflicting ideas about it, and definitely not the archetype that I wanted to be connected to. And it really did bother me for quite a while. And then it got to a stage where I really kind of just began to lean into it a little bit, I guess. In part, I just kind of stopped thinking about it as much and just kind of accepted that this is where I am and this is who I am and all of that. Not like embracing it, but accepting it, and not really feeling like I needed to change or I wasn't necessarily enough as I was. And part of what has helped with that is just little like things that people say on comments or an email that I might get from somebody that references just their experience of me, or how I might have helped them in some way. And so I got to this place where I was like, okay, this is who I am. I actually really do enjoy what I do, which kind of encompasses a lot of those characteristics of the mother archetype. So I kind of got into this place of acceptance a little bit, but like I said, not necessarily really embracing it. I think there's a part of me that still wanted to be the huntress or the queen or something. Not the queen necessarily, but like empowered and strong and fierce and all of that stuff. And so that just kind of continued to go on. And I like I said, didn't really think that much about it, other than like if I happened to pull a card, and again, it would be mother, it would be like, yep, okay. So recently I ended up having a conversation with somebody. She actually found me on YouTube, one of my older videos, and reached out to me asking me if I would lead a workshop for a retreat that she's doing. And I was a little surprised. She didn't put a lot of information in it, but I looked it up. She had a website, whatever, or the name of the thing. So I looked it up, and I was honestly a little confused because it's a wonderful organization. I've never heard of it before. But it is an organization for women who are diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer before the age of 40. And I thought, I don't think that she really knows who I am, because she found me originally from my video that I did on the Heal documentary. And I thought she must be confused. She must have misunderstood who I am and what I do. But I thought, well, I'd actually, be honored to do something for this organization. And so I emailed her back and I said I would be happy to speak with you. So we set up a call, and on this call, so she's kind of, I think, organizing the event. And also on the call was a woman, I don't remember exactly what her role is, but she also is living with cancer, and I believe metastatic cancer. And has some sort of role in which she would have been on that call to determine if she wanted me there or not. But because I was kind of confused, I asked a lot of questions, like just making sure that they understood that I don't have any experience or specialty, certainly, in that area. And the woman I spoke with, she originally, that I emailed with, she said, no, I know you're a social worker, and I saw your video and I thought that you might be a great fit for this. And so we talked a little bit more, kind of what they were hoping for. And basically they were like, it's just about journaling and healing. And so, you can kind of do what you want. And so I shared a little bit about my thoughts about it and that sort of thing. And because I really did want to be very clear that they knew who I was, because I didn't want them to feel like they got the wrong person or whatever. And at one point I had asked a question, and the other person, I don't remember exactly what she said, but basically it was along the lines of, really just being in this space with you, I feel really calm and at peace, and things, honestly, that people often will tend to say. And when she started saying that, so this is somebody that doesn't know me. This is somebody who, she might have an experience of childhood trauma, I don't know, but that's definitely not why we were having a conversation. And it wasn't about my work as a trauma therapist or anything else. But she said, I came in here a little flustered. I was late. And as soon as you started talking, it kind of shifted how I was feeling. And when she said that, I just kind of smiled and thanked her for sharing that with me. And in that moment, I think because it was somebody kind of removed from the people that watch my videos, that are part of my community and that sort of thing, somebody that's never met me before. And I smiled because I thought about that whole mother caretaking thing, and just was like, yeah, I need to just accept that. And what an honor. So in that moment, it was a good feeling. because it really made me feel like, truly, what an honor to be experienced in that way by somebody. And thinking about over the years, different people that have said similar types of things. And truly, every time, it is an incredible honor. Really, and I truly mean that. And then afterward, I just kind of sat with that and played that out of my mind and thought about how long in my life, especially over these last, 8 years or whatever it was since that first mastermind, like pushing up against it, not wanting to embrace that part of myself, wanting to be something different, and thinking about how often for all of us in our lives, we do that. I know that you can relate to what I'm saying. It may be a completely different sort of circumstance, may not have anything to do with archetypes, but how often we look at ourselves and who we are, and even sometimes something that we can recognize as a positive, but think that somehow that's not enough, that it's not good enough, that it would be better if we were more like this person or more like that. And this is true for men and women, it's true for children and adults. We spend so much of our lives in those places, never feeling satisfied no matter what we achieve. Because we always think that who we are should be improved upon. And I wanted to share this with you because I know that I'm not alone. And I know that that struggle reinforces, really simply, that who we are is not enough, and that we need to continue to strive to work toward being different than we are. But there is so much about who we are that is strengthened over time. And if you are watching this, there is so much within you to feel good about, to honor, to stand in your strength and your courage and your fierceness, even if that fierceness is soft and tender. And that was something, like somebody expressed to me that, like, the word tender came to mind, and I did not want to be tender. I wanted fierce. And then I began to recognize that fierce can look a lot of different ways. Strength can look a lot of different ways. Power can look a lot of different ways. So those things that you think are not within you or are not good enough or big enough yet, I would really like to encourage you to consider the reality that who you are is already so much more than enough. Who you are, the things that make you you, is exactly who the world needs. I, nor anybody else that you might compare yourself to, is any different in that way. You have so much within you, whether you can see it or not, whether you think it's good enough or not, whether you're ready to embrace it or not. And I am saying this as much for me as I am for you. We all need to honor the reality of who we are and what it is about who we are that makes us who we are. When people first started commenting on, like, my voice and stuff, I thought, what? That doesn't make any sense. Because I remember, even as a younger person, so I'm older, like hearing myself on a recorder, like on a cassette tape, and like hating my voice, wanting to sound different. Really. And like, there's just so many pieces of that. And I think over these last few years or so, I've been able to really think about, like really let myself take in the different kinds of things that people have said about how, whether it's what I'm saying or how I'm saying it, but how the way that I do it helps them feel something good. And while I may not fully understand that, I'm really leaning into accepting that, and that fits, all of that fits, everything that I do fits with the mother archetype. And really leaning into that and accepting that, I think, has really helped me feel settled in where I am in my life, in the work that I'm doing. I've always enjoyed the work that I'm doing, but I also felt like somehow it needed to be more. It needed to look different. And I really don't feel that anymore. And it really feels so much better than fighting against it, than wanting to, in a sense, even disown that part of myself so that I could be something that I'm really not. You, as you are, in this moment and every moment, are enough, are deserving, is worthy. And who you are is exactly who the people, or at least the healthy people, around you want and need you to be. Take a moment and take that in. Think about the things about yourself that you wish were different in some way. And I'm not talking about like if you cope in unhealthy ways, like just accepting that that's who you are and not wanting to change it, because unhealthy ways of coping make us feel bad. So you do want to change that because you'll feel better. But I'm talking about things about yourself that you think are not good enough, that you think you should be like somebody else. Let yourself take in that who you are as you sit here listening to my voice. You are enough. And you are who we need in this world. Take that in. Deep breath and let it go. You are enough, and I am enough. And I will continue to work on reminding myself. I think we all need reminders sometimes. And that conversation that day was really a beautiful reminder. And I am fortunate that people express things to me often that are beautiful reminders. And I continue to work on allowing myself to really accept all of that. And I'd really like for you to work on accepting that for yourself too. You deserve that. I'd love to hear from you. Did you notice anything coming up? What thing about yourself maybe have you thought was not good enough, but maybe in reality really is? Share in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Give it a thumbs up if you found this helpful. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.